Picture this, okay? Two riders on horseback, like cloaked in darkness, arriving in a tiny Mississippi village. It's 1807,
Ooh, spooky.
right? And one of them asks for directions. But something about him just makes the militia officer's senses tingle, like something's not right. And you know who it turns out to be?
Who?
It's Aaron Burr. The fugitive? Aaron Burr.
No way, the former vice president.
You got it. Accused of treason.
Oh.
Yeah, we're diving into that dramatic story today, the story of Aaron Burr's treason trial. And you guys have sent us some really fascinating sources for this one. We got court transcripts, historical accounts, even a whole podcast episode on this.
Wow.
So we're going to sift through all of it with you and uncover the most captivating details.
Well, they are captivating. Burr was accused of, really nothing less than plotting to invade Mexico.
Wow.
And he wanted to break off part of the western United States to create his own republic.
It's wild.
It's crazy. And this was, all happening in the very early days of the United States.
Oh, yeah. A brand new country.
Brand new. Yeah. And this trial really put the young nation to the test.
Absolutely. Yeah. So treason back then, this wasn't just some political scandal, right? This was a capital offense.
Right. Straight to the chopping block.
Yeah, the ultimate betrayal.
Yeah, and it's right there in the Constitution. The Constitution defines treason as levying war against the U.S. or giving aid and comfort to its enemies.
Okay, so very specific.
It's very specific.
And the penalty, of course, was death.
That's right. The ultimate penalty.
High stakes. So where do we even begin with this tangled web?
Well, before we get to Burr himself, two of his alleged accomplices were arrested. Eric Bowman and Samuel Swartwout.
Okay.
And their case actually ended up in the Supreme Court.
Whoa, the Supreme Court already. This escalated quickly.
It did. And this seemingly minor case had major consequences because Chief Justice John Marshall, who, as a side note, had a long-standing rivalry with President Jefferson, he used this case to set a precedent for what actually legally constituted treason.
Okay, so he's making a big decision here.
Yeah, huge. He ruled that just thinking about or planning a rebellion wasn't enough.
It's got to be more than just talk.
Right. You needed proof of an overt act. You needed actual steps taken toward levying war.
You got to do something about it, not just think about it.
Got to actually do something.
Okay, that is a crucial distinction, I think.
It is.
Because it's not just about thoughts, it's about actions. And I bet this ruling came back to play a major role in Burr's own trial, right?
Huge implications.
Yeah.
But hold on. Let's go back to that scene in Mississippi for a second.
Okay, back to the shadowy riders.
That militia officer who had his suspicions, remember? His name was Nicholas Perkins.
Okay.
And he decided to trust his gut. He followed those riders.
Good move.
And it led to the capture of a very disheveled, very disguised Aaron Burr.
Oh, man. So the disgraced former VP captured looking like a backwoods fugitive. This is a movie.
It's a whole movie.
Right. And speaking of movies, we can't forget about all the political drama swirling around all of this.
Oh, yeah. This is juicy.
Right. Because Thomas Jefferson, he's president at the time. And this couldn't have been good for his image.
Not at all. Jefferson saw Burr's alleged actions as a personal affront.
Oh, yeah.
A threat to national security. Capturing Burr became an obsession for him, almost as if taking down Burr would somehow vindicate his own presidency.
Wow.
Yeah.
So personal indeed. Okay, so to make matters even more complicated, Jefferson pulls some strings to ensure that Burr's trial takes place in Richmond, Virginia, his home turf.
Oh, yeah.
Seems like he's trying to stack the deck a little bit in his favor.
Yeah, he was definitely playing politics, but there's a catch.
What's the catch?
John Marshall, remember, the same Chief Justice who just limited the definition of treason.
Right.
He's also the one presiding over the trial in Richmond.
This is getting good. So we've got the president who desperately wants a conviction. We've got a Chief Justice who's known for standing up to him.
Right.
And both of them are at the center of this high-profile trial. What could possibly go wrong?
Yeah. Well, things get even more complicated when the grand jury enters the picture.
Okay.
So they're tasked with deciding whether there's enough evidence to formally indict Burr.
Makes sense.
And wouldn't you know it? The grand jury foreman, a man named John Randolph, was not exactly a fan of the prosecution's star witness, General James Wilkinson.
Wait, Wilkinson? The same Wilkinson who exposed the whole conspiracy and basically turned on Burr?
That's him.
What's the dirt on Wilkinson?
Well, Wilkinson was kind of a slippery character himself. He was involved in some shady dealings.
Oh, no.
And it actually came out that he had tampered with a crucial piece of evidence.
Oh, my God.
This coded letter from Burr, called a cipher letter, that basically outlined his plans.
So he messed with the
They
evidence.
messed with it.
Why was he even considered a reliable witness if they knew he'd tampered with the evidence?
That's a great question.
Mm-hmm.
And it definitely raised doubts about Wilkinson's credibility.
Yeah.
But get this. The grand jury, even though they decided to indict Burr,
Okay.
they refused to indict Wilkinson.
Oh, wow.
They just did not buy his story.
They're like, you're shady too.
Yeah, exactly.
Talk about a twist. So Burr's indicted, but Wilkinson, who's supposed to be this key witness against him, is looking pretty shady himself.
Right.
And all of this is happening with a packed courtroom in Richmond. Everybody on the edge of their seats waiting to see how this whole political legal drama plays out.
It is a drama.
So what happens next?
Well, next comes the trial itself.
Okay.
With its parade of witnesses and all the legal maneuvering and some really unexpected rulings from the judge.
Oh, can't wait.
This is where things get really, really interesting.
Okay, I'm ready. Let's do it.
All right.
All right. All right. So the stage is set, right? We've got Aaron Burr indicted but defiant, facing trial for treason in a Richmond courtroom.
That's right.
This isn't just any trial, though.
No, it's not.
This is like a political showdown. The whole nation is watching.
Absolutely. And the prosecution, they really pulled out all the stops, trying to prove their case.
Okay.
They brought in a whole string of witnesses, hoping to paint Burr as this dangerous traitor.
Okay.
We've got accounts from William Eaton. Remember him?
Yeah, the Barbary War hero.
A famed Barbary War hero.
Right.
And he actually testified against Burr.
Really?
Yeah. Apparently they had some personal beef going back.
Ah, the ever reliable, he wronged me in the past testimony.
Classic.
Always adds a touch of personal drama to a treason trial.
Right. Exactly.
So what else? We've also got the Morgan family.
Okay.
And they claimed they had, like, dined with Burr and overheard him discussing his, treasonous schemes.
Over dinner.
I know, right?
You think if you were plotting to overthrow the government, you'd pick a slightly more discreet setting?
Yeah, a little more low-key.
Like a secret lair or something?
Exactly.
Not the dinner table.
Right. But a lot of the testimony was like that.
Really?
Full of hearsay, fueled by personal vendettas.
Okay.
It wasn't exactly a slam dunk for the prosecution.
But Burr wasn't just sitting there taking all of this, was he?
Oh, no. He was not. I mean, he was known as a brilliant lawyer,
Yes.
so I bet he used those skills to his advantage.
Oh, absolutely. Burr was actually defending himself.
No way.
Yeah.
Wow.
And he was very skilled at it. He used every trick in the book to challenge the prosecution's case and discredit the witnesses.
So he's a good lawyer.
A very good lawyer.
Okay.
And you know what? He actually pulled off this legal maneuver
Okay.
that completely changed the direction of the trial.
Oh, I'm on the edge of my seat here. What did he do?
Okay, so Burr filed this motion that forced Chief Justice Marshall to make a pivotal ruling about what evidence could even be used against him.
Ooh, okay, this is big.
It was big.
Yeah.
And Marshall, sticking to his strict interpretation of treason, he declared that only evidence related to Burr's activities on Blennerhassett Island,
Right.
specifically on December 10th.
Right.
That's where the alleged conspiracy was supposedly hatched.
Okay.
Only evidence from that specific time and place could be considered.
So everything else, like all the whispers and rumors about, Burr's grand schemes across multiple states, it's all thrown out.
Thrown out. The judge said, nope, irrelevant.
Wow. That's a huge win for Burr.
It is.
I mean, I can only imagine the prosecution, like, scrambling to salvage their case after that.
Well, they tried.
Okay.
But without all that extra evidence, their arguments were just much weaker.
Yeah.
And it became increasingly clear that they couldn't prove beyond a reasonable doubt that Burr had actually committed overt acts of treason.
Okay, so what happened? Did the jury find him guilty anyway? Like, were they swayed by the political pressure? The fear of letting a potential traitor just walk free?
They did not.
Really?
The jury, bound by the evidence and Marshall's instructions, they really had little choice.
Yeah.
They had to acquit Aaron Burr.
Wow.
He walked out of that Richmond courtroom a free man.
Free, but not unscathed, though, right?
You're right about that. Even though he wasn't convicted, his reputation was in tatters.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, he was shunned by society, buried in debt, facing the scorn of, anyone who still believed he was a traitor.
So what did he do? Did he try to rebuild his life in America, or did he just disappear?
Well, he tried to start over.
Okay.
But his past just kept haunting him.
Yeah.
And he dreamt of escaping to Europe,
Mm.
hoping to find support for his ambitions over there.
Mm.
Burr always had grand plans.
He did, even after this devastating setback.
Yeah, it's almost like he couldn't let go of those dreams of conquest, you know?
It makes you wonder, was he truly driven by ideology, or was it all just lust for power?
Right. That's a question that has puzzled historians for centuries.
For sure.
But before we get into that, let's talk about what happened to Burr in exile.
Okay.
His life after the trial was a roller coaster, let me tell you.
All right, I'm all ears. Tell me everything.
Okay. Well, his exile wasn't exactly a smooth journey. Yeah. It was actually filled with obstacles and almost comical ironies.
Okay.
So, for instance, when Burr was in France, desperate to leave, he needed a certificate of U.S. citizenship.
Okay, yeah.
And guess who the U.S. official was who denied his request?
Oh, no, don't tell me. It was someone from the trial.
You got it? It was Alexander McRae.
No way.
One of the prosecutors who had tried to put him behind bars for treason.
You can't make this stuff up.
I know. It's too perfect.
It's like fate, or maybe karma had a sense of humor when it came to Aaron Burr.
For sure.
So was that the only, weird twist of fate?
Oh, no, that's just one example. There are many more.
Really?
He faced rejection in England. He schemed in Paris.
Okay.
And he ultimately ended up returning to New York in 1812. Only to face even more personal tragedy.
Oh, man. It sounds like even though he escaped the legal consequences of his actions,
right,
he could never really outrun the shadow of his past.
No, he couldn't. But, even though Burr's story is fascinating on a personal level, this wasn't just about one man's ambition and downfall.
Right. This is bigger than Burr.
Much bigger. This trial had a huge impact on the young United States.
Okay, I'm listening. How so?
Well, the Burr trial wasn't just a juicy scandal. It was a defining moment for the nation, legally and politically. It exposed deep divisions and really tested the very foundations of American democracy.
Wow.
And believe it or not, it actually made the country stronger in the long run.
Wait, hold on. How could a trial that nearly tore the country apart actually make it stronger? I'm intrigued. Tell me more. I'm still trying to wrap my head around all of this. So how did a trial that exposed so much political division and almost, put a former vice president on the gallows, how did that actually make the country stronger?
Well, think about it. The Burr trial was like a stress test for the young American legal system.
Okay.
It showed that even someone as powerful and controversial as Aaron Burr could be tried fairly according to the law without the outcome being predetermined by political whims.
So it was a win for the rule of law.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The fact that the jury acquitted Burr despite all the pressure from Jefferson, and despite, this widespread belief that he was guilty of something, it demonstrated that the system worked. The courts weren't just tools of the powerful.
Yeah.
They were places where evidence actually mattered and due process prevailed.
Yeah, even for someone as divisive as Burr.
Exactly. It set a really important precedent for future cases.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think it showed the world that the United States was committed to these principles of fairness and justice.
That's a really powerful point. It's like it set the standard for how things should be done.
Yeah.
But it wasn't just about the legal precedent, was it?
No, it wasn't.
This whole ordeal had a much broader impact on, American society as a whole.
It did.
Yeah.
It forced this national conversation about ambition, loyalty, and the very definition of treason.
Right.
And remember, Burr's ambitions for westward expansion, they weren't completely out of step with the spirit of the times.
Right. Everyone was moving west.
Right. The Louisiana Purchase had just doubled the size of the country.
Yeah, it was a huge land grab.
Huge.
Yeah.
And there was this sense of, boundless opportunity out there.
Yeah, manifest destiny.
But also a lot of uncertainty about how all that vast territory would be governed and who would benefit from it.
So Burr, in a way, kind of tapped into this underlying anxiety about the direction of the country.
He did. He really personified both the allure and the danger of, unchecked ambition.
The good and the bad.
Right. And the trial, with all its drama and intrigue, it brought those anxieties to the surface. It forced Americans to confront this question. What kind of nation were they building?
Right. What did they want it to be?
Exactly. What were the limits of individual ambition?
Yeah.
When does patriotism cross the line into dangerous scheming?
Those are questions we're still asking ourselves today.
I know, right? Centuries later, we're still grappling with issues of power ambition and this balance between individual freedom and national security.
Absolutely. It's like those themes are just woven into the fabric of America.
They are.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons why the story of Aaron Burr continues to fascinate us.
Yeah.
He represents this enduring tension in American history between those who push the boundaries, who challenge the status quo, and those who seek stability and order.
So he's a really complicated figure, a lot of contradictions.
Absolutely.
Right.
It's never simple.
So where does that leave us? What's like the final takeaway from this deep dive into the world of Aaron Burr?
Well, I think it's up to each of us to decide how we view him. Was he a villain, a visionary, or, as is often the case, a complex mix of both?
Right, a little bit of both.
Yeah, the evidence is there. The historical context has been laid out.
We've given everyone the pieces.
Right. And now it's up to you to weigh the facts and draw your own conclusions.
That's the beauty of history. It's not just like a static collection of facts and dates.
Right.
It's an ongoing conversation.
It is.
An invitation to think critically and engage with the past.
And who knows? Maybe by exploring the complexities of someone like Aaron Burr, we gain a better understanding of our own times and the challenges we face as a nation.
That's a great point. We're always looking for those echoes of the past in our present, right? Like those enduring questions that connect us across generations.
Exactly. So, listeners, you reflect on the story of Aaron Burr, his trial, his ambitions, his ultimate downfall. Consider this. What lessons can we draw from his experience?
Oh, good question.
What does it tell us about the nature of power, the fragility of democracy, and the importance of upholding the rule of law, even when it's really difficult?
Those are some great thought-provoking questions to ponder. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into one of the most, dramatic and consequential chapters in early American history.
Absolutely. It's been a pleasure exploring all these fascinating sources with you.
And until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep those minds engaged.